Well, hello, I'm Pastor Vincent Rhodes, and thank you for tuning in to the Sunday School in a Nutshell. The Sunday School in a Nutshell is a broadcasting that we're doing here at True Vine just to give you some information on the Sunday School for the upcoming weeks and some of the ideas and the concepts that are trying to be communicated in this lesson. We're going to take a look. We're going to get right into this lesson today. But I want to kind of open up with just talking about one thing that Jesus said here. He said one thing in this Sunday school lesson coming up for the month of March in this Sunday school lesson. It says that Jesus replied, "Anyone who loves me and obeys my teaching, my Father will love him, and we will come and make our home with him." And I want to just talk to you about, the coming of the Holy Spirit. We are into talking about the coming of the Holy Spirit, and it is interesting that Jesus talks about the coming of the Holy Spirit, and what he has to say about this coming of the Holy Spirit. He says it in connection with obedience to him. Real quickly, if you would turn with me to John chapter 14, verse 23, you would see it. It says, "Anyone who loves me and obeys my teaching, my Father will love them, and we will come and make our home with them. And anyone who does not love me and obey my teaching," the opposite is true. These words you hear are not my own. They belong to the Father who sent me. And this is important because Judas Iscariot, Judas who is not Iscariot, not the betrayer, but the other Judas who was the disciple of Jesus, was in the midst, and he was listening to what Jesus said. In John chapter 14, verse 22, he asked, "How will this happen? How will you come and make your abode with us?" Jesus had been promising that he was going to be leaving, but he was going to send them a comforter to come and make his abode with them and to be with them. And Judas, which was not Iscariot, had to ask, "Well, Lord, how are you going to make your abode with us?" And the answer came very quickly when Jesus said that he was going to send another comforter. Let's get right into that and take a look at that. That's coming from, again, your standard lesson commentary, 2014-2015, for the month of March. We're taking a look at these words here. We're going to go right into, let's go to the key verse. Is John chapter 14, verse 26. "The advocate of the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and remind you of everything I have said." That's John chapter 14, verse 26. And our lesson aim for the day is that, number one, you're going to summarize Jesus' promise of the Holy Spirit and explain the link between the presence of the Holy Spirit and living in the loving obedience of Christ. And then number three, write a prayer of thanks to God for the presence of the Holy Spirit in his or her life. And I think after this lesson, you'll be able to understand that the Lord did not leave us orphans. He did not leave us abandoned, but he gave us a comforter, and that comforter is the Holy Spirit. One of the things that most people are fearful of is being alone. I can tell you myself, I enjoy having the company of family, having the company of friends, having the company of my wife, and those kinds of things. Many of you don't have that, but you do have different people in your family. You have different relationships. And not only that, the Lord has given us even animals to keep us company when we're lonely. And many of us have dogs and cats and those kinds of things. But for the Christian, we need a spiritual advocate. And that spiritual advocate is the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit comes into our life. He lives within us. And so what he does is he gives us this assurance that we are saved, that we are in God's care, And then he also gives us insight on how to live as a Christian. I want to talk about that because, there's many people who feel alone today. And you might feel like no one cares about you. But I can tell you that God has an advocate, which is the Holy Spirit. There are three things that they want to point out in the Sunday school lesson. That's the promise of the Spirit. The promise of the Spirit. Did you know that the Holy Spirit is promised to us as believers? That's found in John chapter 14, verse 15. We find that Jesus said that he promised us that if you love me and keep my commandments, then I'm going to send the Holy Spirit. I'm going to send a comforter. And that's a promise that Jesus gave us, an assurance that, that you won't be alone in this world. And that Holy Spirit will bring you peace and bring you comfort during those times when we are most distressed and when we most need him. We're also going to take a look also not only at the promise of the Holy Spirit, but then there are other things concerning that as well. Going back to our outline, it says the assurance by the Son. The Son has promised us that he's going to give us his presence. He's going to bring his life, giving spirit into us, and that spirit will impart to us knowledge. And then the third thing that we look at in the Sunday school lesson is the purpose of the Holy Spirit. The purpose of the Holy Spirit is for the Lord to speak to us and speak through us. And that's important that we know that. There's some of the things it says, Son presents the message. And he says, verse 25 of John chapter 14, verse 25, he says, all this I have spoken while I was still with you. And he said that at the Last Supper so that he can let them know that there was going to be someone to be coming to them. And he gave them his promise that they would receive this Holy Spirit. B says the Spirit's future ministry. Listen, the Spirit has a ministry that he's working out in us. Verse 26 points out in John chapter 14, it says, but the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things. In other words, the Holy Spirit is going to be a teacher to us. He's going to be someone to give us encouragement and to also not only give us encouragement, but he's going to give us instruction of how to act and how to carry out our lives as Christians in this world. Because we really don't always know what Satan's plans are, what he's up to, but the Holy Spirit discerns the situation and gets us the right answer if we would just listen to the voice, the still small voice on the inside. Well, that's it for now. We're kind of out of time, but we're going to come back with more explanation of the Sunday School. Thanks for tuning in to the Sunday School in a nutshell.